right, joining us today on Pirate Radio
Your
Live.
voice changed right there?
Yeah, it finally hit puberty. I was wondering when it was going to happen. Brian Bailey, the Hall of Famer, host of the Brian Bailey Show, WNCT Channel 9 Sports Director, and all of the above is here. How you doing, BB?
Very good. How are you?
I am great, man. This is March, so very
Yes, it's
excited
March.
to be in March. We got conference tournaments that have already begun. Big boys will begin in a couple of weeks, and down the stretch we come with East Carolina men's and women's basketball, as you talked about on your show, and we've discussed previously on Pirate Radio Live. Great weekend for ECU Athletics.
It really was. Yeah, it was. It's fun. You know, when you have so much stuff going on around campus anyway, and then, you know, just the ladies win on the road. That's a big win for them against South Florida. The men win another game, and the job Mike Schwartz is doing for this Pirate basketball team, and just the athleticism that they show at times, and had a little scuffle at midcourt. That was fun to watch. So it was a good weekend.
It was
Pirates
entertaining.
bounced back from that 7-6 loss to Kent State and won the next two. And I think the Virginia Tech game, I don't know where Virginia Tech is picked in the ACC. I think they're about the middle of the pack. But, you know, you got to think that was probably the Pirates', you know, best win so far,
Probably.
the way they put it together.
Yeah. Bailey, you're a good person to ask this. Not that you're old, but you're seasoned, I would say.
You're good. I thought you were going to stop at you're a good person.
You are a good person.
There you go.
To some people.
Yeah.
To most-
My wife says that, too. I tell Melissa, I said, Melissa, most people think I'm really a nice guy. I think you think I'm just horrible sometimes.
All right, this is an off-the-air
All right.
story, but I'll bring it up. So Jarrett was telling me something about Zach. Said, "Oh, Bailey's gonna be mad at me because you didn't get a certain shot of them going on the field." And I guess you weren't mad at him at all about it, but you have trained him so well that if he don't do 100% all the time, you're gonna be mad at him. He thinks so.
Yeah.
You've got him trained perfectly.
First of all, he's one of the best I've ever had. He's like he's not in Meador's category yet, but he's close to that.
Okay.
I mean, he works hard. He tries his best, but I swear he just sometimes he can't read, you know, what's happening, you know, and he thinks, you know, but I'll tell him something and he won't exactly grasp it, and then that's what, the only thing that makes me mad is if we talk about something and then we don't execute it.
Yeah.
I'm like, why didn't we execute? What happened? You know, and usually it's because he's talking to somebody else and not listening to what
Well,
I'm
he's
saying.
He's definitely talking.
Yeah.
to
But no,
somebody.
he does a great job. We're lucky to have him. You know, I'm hoping he'll sign for a couple more years and stay with us because I think he's got a good thing going. He does a good job when he anchors, and just, you know, the way he works, he's really good.
We're big Zach Kaplan fans
Yeah,
here
he's
too.
funny.
But my original question was going to be, where does R.J. Felton rank amongst the Pirate basketballers of all time? Because you almost have to factor it in guys who stayed the whole time
Right.
and guys who didn't. Because Jaden Gardner and Tristan Newton, like we've had some great players, but they've moved
I don't
on.
I don't put it even though Tristan Newton decided to go from a very good guard at East Carolina to an All-American,
most outstanding player.
Yeah, and winning 2 national championships. The odds of that are just astronomical.
Yeah.
But I don't put guys like that into my, you know, top. I mean, obviously you start with Blue Edwards, the
Yeah.
greatest player that ever played, and a couple other ones way back.
Lester
but-
Lyons.
yeah,
out
Lester
here a lot.
Lyons is up there.
Yeah.
I think that, but RJ's got to be considered with all those guys. I mean, you know, the thing that Lester did, which is really unheard of, is that he won a championship, and that just doesn't happen in Pirate basketball. But RJ is pushing this crowd, and maybe, you know, who knows what's going to happen in the American tournament, but you know they've got the athletes to make some noise, and hopefully they'll do that.
Also, just he's a good guy, so
great
that
guy.
is in his factor, and he his hustle. Like
Oh, yeah.
a lot of times, your best player isn't your most the guy that's going to dive on
Right.
the court and stuff like that. He loves the dirty work too, so we'll always be big RJ fans.
Well, you know,
around
and
here.
early on in the year, I think he was struggling from the field
Yeah,
some.
definitely.
And Coach Schwartz said, look, just go back to what your roots are. Go back to just getting those rebounds and flying around and grab. And when he does that, that's when everything else opens up for him, it seems like.
Mentioned it got chippy yesterday. Did you notice the RJ and I don't know what player it was that was on him for most of the game, but early in the game they kind of went nose to nose and then gave each other a hard like 5 going to the bench, like a respect type thing. Later in the game, that guy knocks it away. He is in RJ's grill. RJ steps back, hits a three, and the guy kind of smiles and shakes his head. Like they had a nice little one-on-one game going there too, which it really made it fun. The chippiness and the talking back and forth, and then when you got Mike Schwartz being held back by RJ Felton, that's always a good thing too.
I saw the replay of the little skirmish, and Schwartz was out there quick.
Yeah.
I mean, it was almost like, wow. Like he saw it coming. He was out there before it even got started. But I think he was trying to protect his players, obviously, and try to keep everybody in the game. But
I can't believe he didn't get a technical for running out there. But then when you look back on it, it looked like originally it looked like he got in the face of one of their players.
Right.
But I don't think that was the
No,
case.
I don't think so either.
Yeah. So it wasn't as big of a deal as it
But
looked.
it's that time
live.
of year. I mean, they've been playing a lot of basketball.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of things are on the line. Charlotte has struggled all year long. They've lost so many close games. And, you know, they almost stole one in Greenville. I mean, that was crazy at the end. But Pirates held on and got another victory. And every win now for Pirate basketball pretty much sets a record of some sort.
It's crazy, but you're right. You talked about it on your show. Just, I mean, we live it, but hard to kind of fathom how bad the history of ECU basketball has been.
Because I think back, and I always think back, well, they haven't had all that much success, but, you know, it's a nice team to go watch stuff. But you look at some of the numbers, you're like, good God, I've lived through all this.
Yeah, we've almost suppressed it or something.
Yeah,
like,
there's something to it.
It's better than we think it is. No, it's not.
Yeah.
But I really think they got a chance to win a couple games in the tournament, and then, you know, it's March, man.
Wouldn't that
Anything
be
can happen.
fun?
Yeah.
Semifinals of the American tournament, and the Pirates are there.
Let's get there. Let's do it. Haven't done that since was it the CIT year or when they played Memphis in the semifinals of the this Conference USA tournament back then. I remember they made it to the semis, but that's been a long time ago.
I think Caitlin was in law school at the time because we were at Elon, and she took me out to lunch somewhere, and we watched it. And, yeah, I remember that.
We played Memphis, and we had just beat them the week before, like on senior day. And I was like, yeah, this might not be good.
Yeah.
And it wasn't.
It
But
wasn't.
we'll see what happens this time around. Kim McNeil's team trying to go on another conference tournament run, and they beat
She's
a good
got a
team.
history of doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and a lot of these coaches say, you know, we want to be playing our best basketball when March comes around, and you know, sometimes in December we kind of like roll our eyes a little bit, but you know, some teams are like that. And Kim McNeil definitely has a patent on, you know, she won a championship, then she got back to the championship game. And her team's playing better basketball right now.
And you mentioned Pirate baseball getting 2 out of 3 in the Keith LeClaire Classic. They will be Fayetteville Tuesday,
Yep.
and then home for a fun series against
And
Coastal.
I've never been to the Fayetteville Stadium down there, Segra, but they say it's really, really nice. They've done a great job. It's the home of the Woodpeckers down there, and they say it's really beautiful.
Bailey, other basketball going on. Duke continues to beat teams by 30 points.
Yeah,
they have been awesome. I think they got Wake Forest tonight, but they are clearly the ACC's best and maybe the nation's best.
And it looks like, you know, back in the day, the ACC would get, 7,
Yeah.
8 teams in the tournament. They're only going to get 3. Carolina's on the outside still. And I don't know, it may take a win over Duke to put Carolina in the tournament.
Yeah.
But right now, Louisville, Clemson, and
Wake had a bad loss last week. I know they were a
Virginia
team that's kind
beat
of on
'em.
the bubble.
Yeah,
Well,
Virginia
sorry to
beat
call
'em.
Virginia a bad loss.
No,
but
it
is.
was a bad loss. And the Cavaliers actually had Clemson this weekend, and in the first half they had about a 6-7 point lead. In the second half they were up by a little bit, but then Clemson came back and pretty much pounded them. I like Clemson's team. I really like watching them play.
Well, the SEC is the new ACC in the regard of sending a bunch of teams. In fact, Oklahoma, I want to say they had that can't be 4 SEC wins, but they were kind of bottom half of the SEC and were in Joe Lunardi's bracket. That tells you how deep the SEC is this year. And they're going to send a ton of teams and have a bunch of teams at the top.
And I heard them debating the fact that some of these, non-power fours that maybe deserve to get in, but they look at their schedule and they're like, you're 22-7, but this team played in the SEC and played all these tough teams because you play in the SEC every night. You're playing a ranked team. Seems like.
I very excited for the tournament this year, and I was asking you guys, does North Carolina host any regionals or tournament games this year? You said they'll be in Raleigh.
Raleigh first and second round. I believe it's a Friday Sunday deal. and probably most likely Duke will be there for that. So that's always cool, and the way the NCAA handles everything, and you get a chance to see some pretty good basketball.
Some NFL news over the weekend.
Oh,
Commanders add Debo.
did you see he broke his ankle today
No,
trying to
see,
sign his contract?
that-
You didn't see that?
That's
Just kidding.
It's the kind of jokes people make when they're
Just
nervous
kidding.
about.
Oh, no, I'm not nervous. I'm just scared to death. I'm not nervous. No, my Cowboys just. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing, why they're doing it, and hope Dak gets healthy and hope that they can sign.
Is he good for He'll be good for the start of the year,
They
right?
say he'll be good for the start of the year, but he needs some help, and we'll see what the draft brings. And back in the day, the Cowboys, man, they had, I think it was Super Bowl 12 when they had that great draft, and it was, or 13, maybe when they lost to Pittsburgh. But they had a great draft to get back in the Super Bowl, and all these young players bouncing around. That's what they need. They need one of those great drafts, and I don't know, in this day and age, you can't really steal anybody because everybody knows what everybody does.
Well, sometimes I look at the draft as kind of overrated. Like, what are these guys going to do? But the way contracts and the teams work now, if you can get those guys in that 2-3 year
Right.
window
That's
before
key.
they get their second contract or third contract, that's how these Super Bowl teams are built
Yeah.
a lot of times.
That's exactly right. So we'll see what happens with that.
All right, BB, what else you covering? High school sports. You talked about that on
Yeah.
your show today.
High school basketball, third round of the state playoffs Tuesday, fourth round will be on Friday. They started the new system. We used to have, again, back in the day, but we used to have the regionals. That was a great week of basketball, the Eastern regionals. So the semifinals, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in each class, 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A. And then on Saturday, 4 big games in the finals. And, man, Minji's would be packed, and it was just a fun week. And now the North Carolina High School Athletic Association takes the 2 teams in the Eastern finals and the 2 teams in the Western finals and brings them to Winston-Salem for like a Final Four type event. And it's a little harder to cover and to get everything, but it's still very exciting, and to see the teams playing for state championships. It's a great venue at Lawrence Joel Veterans Memorial Coliseum. So. And Zach found a really good barbecue place around the corner.
There you go.
Actually, I found it, and I told Zach about it, and Zach spent all of his money at the barbecue place.
Man, I remember the last live sporting event I was at before COVID was
I hate thinking about that.
Minji's, Bobby Pettiford's team taking on Farmville Central, and it was just an awesome high school basketball game in the playoffs. And so, man, stars are born in these high school basketball playoffs. We'll see.
I remember COVID. I was at the ACC tournament. I think it was that Friday. Like what we do now, we don't really go for the whole weekend like we used to. So, like Ken Watlington will go, or Zach will go, or I'll go. And I was going that Friday, and it was. They already said they weren't going to have fans and weren't going to do this. And then I watched one team warm up.
That might have been. I'm trying to think. Weren't we on the phone with you or something?
Yeah,
or?
you might have been. Yeah, I think so. And I was kind of like, look, I gotta go, because it was weird because it was Florida State won the championship that year.
Yeah,
I think it was Clemson. They were supposed to be playing Clemson, and Clemson was warming up. Florida State wasn't. So Florida State knew something that Clemson didn't know, and then the ACC commissioner came out and grabbed the microphone and said,
and they gave them a championship.
"Yeah, they gave them the trophy right there,
Yeah.
and called it quits." And everybody, and I remember, and this is going to sound really stupid, I guess, but I sat on the curb, man, just cried. I couldn't help it, because I knew that life as I knew it
I'm
was
right there
over.
with you, man.
Was over for a while.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if we'd ever get it back.
I'm with you.
Because I was thinking, my whole head was going through things like, how are we going to do a sportscast? Because there's no sports. And your title says sports director.
Yeah,
what are you going
we're
to do?
thinking about like our jobs and how we're going to
I was
survive.
thinking about my livelihood. I thought, are they going to suspend, put me on suspension or probation for a while just to wait and see what happens? But, then we got creative for a long time.
Yep, had to go outside the box.
Yeah.
But man, glad we're where we are now.
We're
and
back.
This is going to be a very exciting month.
It's going to be
sports.
fun. March always is.
All right, BB. Thank you, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.